My daughter, Sarah, pour me a glass of wine. Before moving forward, I request you all to subscribe and comment what should be my next move. Her hand was steady, too steady for a woman whose father had been diagnosed with a terminal heart condition just 48 hours ago. She smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. It stopped at her teeth, white and sharp like a predator's. "Drink, Dad. It'll help you sleep," she whispered. I knew exactly what she wanted. It wasn't my sleep she was worried about. It was my signature. Behind her, her husband Mark was already measuring the living room walls with a laser tape. They weren't even waiting for me to stop breathing before they started redecorating. They thought I was a senile old man who lost his grip on reality. What they didn't know was that I had been playing a game far more dangerous than their petty greed. I took a sip of the wine, feeling the bitter aftertaste. Was it the grapes, or had they already started adding vitamins to my drink? "I have a secret, Sarah," I rasped. The tape measure stopped. Both of them froze. "A secret, Dad?" Mark asked, his voice dripping with fake concern. "The house, the bank accounts, they are nothing," I said, leaning forward. "There is a safe. Not in a bank, not in this house, but it holds something that would make this mansion look like a cardboard box." I saw the greed ignite in their eyes like a wildfire. But here was the catch. I wasn't going to tell them where it was. Not yet. That night, I didn't sleep. I listened through the thin walls as they whispered in the hallway. "He's hiding something big," Mark hissed. "If we find that safe, we don't need to wait for the will to clear probate. We can disappear before the funeral." I smiled in the dark. I had spent 30 years as a forensic accountant. I knew how to hide money, but more importantly, I knew how to hide the truth. I got out of bed, my knees creaking, and pulled a loose floorboard from under my rug. Inside wasn't gold. It was a ledger, a black book filled with names, dates, and crimes. Sarah's name was on page 14. Mark's name was on page 22. They thought they were the ones scamming me, but they had forgotten who taught them how to lie. Suddenly, a floorboard creaked outside my door. The handle turned slowly. I didn't have time to hide the ledger. I shoved it under my pillow and closed my eyes, forcing my breathing to stay rhythmic. The door opened. Someone walked to the side of my bed. I could smell Sarah's expensive perfume mixed with something metallic. Bleach? She leaned down, her breath hot against my ear. "Where is it, old man?" she whispered, her voice no longer sweet. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." Then I felt her hand slide under my pillow. My heart hammered against my ribs. If she found the book, the game was over. But just as her fingers touched the leather binding, a loud crash echoed from downstairs. Sarah bolted out of the room. I opened my eyes. Who else was in the house? I followed her to the balcony, staying in the shadows. Down in the foyer, the front door was wide open. Mark was standing there, pale as a ghost, looking at a man standing in the doorway. The man was wearing a delivery uniform, but it was 2 a.m. He held a small velvet box. "Mr. Sterling?" the man asked. "I'm his son-in-law. Give it to me." Mark reached out. "I'm afraid this is for Mr. Sterling's eyes only. It's the final payment for the project in 1994. My blood turned to ice. 1994. The year Sarah's mother disappeared. The year I made the deal that built this empire. Sarah looked at me, then at the box, then back at the man. "What project? My father was a teacher in 94. The delivery man laughed. A cold, hollow sound. "A teacher? No, ma'am. Your father was an architect, but he didn't build buildings. He built exits for people who wanted to vanish." He tossed the box onto the rug and walked back into the rain. Mark snatched it up and pried it open. Inside was a single silver key and a photograph. I watched from above as Sarah looked at the photo. She let out a scream that sounded like a wounded animal. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of terror and pure hatred. "Dad," she breathed. "Who is the woman in this photo, and why is she wearing my mother's ring?"